Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for our webinar, Achieving Career Success as a Newcomer in Canada. Before we begin, a land acknowledgement. So Achēv acknowledges that the land on which we live, work, and gather, even virtually, is part of the treaty lands and territory of the Mississauga of the Credit. The land on which the region of Peel and the regional municipality of Halton operates is rich in history and modern traditions of many First Nations and Métis people. We're grateful to have the opportunity to work on this land, and by doing so, we give our respect to its first inhabitants. We are dedicated to honoring Indigenous history and culture and committed to moving forward in the spirit of reconciliation and respect with all First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people. Now, anytime during today's webinar, you are free to talk with us. If you just want to say hi, do use the chat feature. If you have any questions, there is a separate Q&A feature, and we have an allotted time at the end of today's presentation where we will answer your questions. So use the Q&A feature if you have any questions anytime during today's presentation. We have a survey which will also be sent out to you via email, so don't worry about copying that URL, but it would mean a lot to us if you can take a 1-2 minutes. It requires so little time just to fill out the survey. Let us know what you think about webinars so that we can continue delivering top quality career loans webinars to everyone. Now, who is here today? My name is Gavin. I am the content developer for the Career Loans program. I'm joined with our guest speaker, Charles Osuji, who we will meet later, the managing partner of Osuji Smith Lawyers. And of course, my colleague, Venus Chaffee, information and financial counselor with the Career Loans program. She is also here, and we will hear from all of them later. But before we get to that, just a quick video I want to show about what is the Career Loans program and how we can help newcomers, skilled newcomers in Alberta and Saskatchewan, succeed in their career goals. So let me just play this video.
I'm Rianne Mendoza, and I came to Canada from the Philippines last year in November.
Hello, my name is Ifoma. I came to Canada June 2019.
My desired occupation in Canada is a privacy lawyer.
And my desire is to work as a medical doctor in Canada. The major challenge that I was facing was financial.
I don't have the sufficient resources in order for me to enroll.
I used part of the money that I got from career loans to register for the first part of the exam.
I was able to enroll in the training programs to becoming a privacy professional.
To buy a mini laptop that I would use to prepare for the exams.
To purchase all the required texts.
Ever since I applied to career loans, I can say that my career outlook is definitely brighter.
I will also be getting my certification for Asia.
Because I've gotten the assistance that I needed. I've been able to register for the exams.
I am now more prepared to become a privacy professional in Canada.
Things are looking brighter. Yeah, I just feel like, I'm getting closer to my goal.
And thanks to career loans, I am now more confident and in my way towards my journey of becoming a privacy professional here in Canada.
So that was just a short little introduction to how career loans can help skilled newcomers in Alberta and Saskatchewan. We will talk more about the program later, but just running through today's schedule. First, we'll be introducing our guest speaker, our featured speaker today, Charles Osuji. We will then have the conversation. Number two, the main bulk of the presentation will be the conversation with Charles Osuji. Afterwards, Venus will be talking about how the career loans program can help newcomers beyond what we explained in the video. And then number four is what I alluded to earlier, the Q&A session. So anytime during today's webinar, if you have a question, type them into the Q&A box, and that's when we'll answer your questions. And then we will wrap up the webinar afterwards. So before we continue, I'd like to introduce today's guest speaker. Please allow me to introduce Charles. Originally from Nigeria, Charles Osuji is a managing partner and CEO of Osuji and Smith in Calgary, Alberta. He is one of the leading young lawyers in Canada, and he has been chosen as one of the top 25 most influential lawyers in Canada by Canadian Lawyer Magazine, among other awards and recognitions. Charles takes pride in providing effective and practical legal advice in a thorough and timely manner through responsive communication with his clients. In his spare time, Charles enjoys spending time with his family, friends, playing the piano, playing and watching soccer and other sports, and reading. Today we will hear from Charles about his experience as a newcomer in Canada and his advice for other newcomers. Please join me in welcoming Charles Osuji. Thank you for joining us today, Charles.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Gavin. I appreciate the introduction.
And thank you for joining us today. Venus is joining us as well. So we have prepared a few questions for Charles. So Venus will be asking you these questions. But for the audience, anytime during this Q&A session, you can type your own questions and we will get to them at the end of today's presentation. So without further ado, Charles and Venus, I'll let you take it away.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. It's a pleasure to have you here, Charles. So I start by asking you, tell us about yourself. When and why did you decide to move out to Alberta, and what were you doing before coming to Alberta?
So I come from a family of 10. It's a lot of us. I'm the seventh out of 8. My immediate older sister is older than I am with 11 years. So I was born into an adult family. By the time I was born, my oldest brother was already done with university. And they were already established as well. So fortunately for me, I already had a few family members in Canada by the time I was done with law school in Nigeria. So I came here in late 2011. Calgary was a natural destination for me because my family was already here. Talk about soft landing. So I got in, and my only goal was to become a lawyer because there was no other way I thought I could succeed here in Canada. My math is terrible. I couldn't do well in other areas. I focused all my attention to the practice of, to getting my license into practice law. So that was the reason why I came here. And as we go on in the conversation, I can share the challenges I faced when I came here and a few things that I did to overcome those challenges, and a few advice I will have for our audience today.
Wonderful. So why did you decide to pursue law in the first place?
Well, my decision was actually due to elimination. I knew what I couldn't do, and law was the only thing that was left.
Wow.
So I come from a family of medical professionals, right? Mom is a nurse. I have 5 nurses in the family. I have doctors, optometrists, and all that. And they wanted me to toe that path, but it wasn't working. In the math class, I'll be at the back of the class, but in the literature class, I'll be at the front. I knew something was wrong, and I couldn't fight it any longer. I decided to eliminate anything science related. And I also discovered that I had a penchant for reading. As young as 7, I was living with one of my brothers, and the 2 choices he gave me was either you're reading or you're sleeping. As young as 7, I didn't watch any cartoons, no TVs, nothing. But I enjoyed it. I would read many books at a time, and I quickly realized that my passion for reading would be very instrumental in succeeding as a lawyer, because law requires a lot of unpacking information, reading and analyzing information as quickly as possible. And I did so well. I did very well in law school and came here, and so far so good. I think I'm in the right profession. I won a lot in terms of finding myself in the right place.
That is wonderful. That's great. Thanks for sharing that. What challenges did you face when trying to start your law career in Canada?
How many days do we have for this conversation? So many of them. And I'm sure our audience would relate to some of these challenges. And these challenges are there regardless of who you are. As long as you're a newcomer, you are faced with just a plethora of challenges, and you don't overcome them and then they are over. Every day these challenges still manifest themselves. Of course, the very first challenge was, for the first time, I became aware that I was Black. Back in Nigeria, the idea of racism, we read about it in books, right? But you didn't really feel it. And all of a sudden, you're conscious of your Blackness. For me, so I became super and hyper aware of my race. I became aware of the sound of my voice. I never knew that there was something called accent. So all of a sudden, that became an issue. I also faced the challenge of the internal challenge of self-doubt. And I know that so many people will relate to that. You come to a new country, you become professionally naked, you're more or less starting all over. All of your victories and glories are gone. You come with this fresh identity, and you have to really plug in the holes for yourself. So that was very, very scary. Nobody knew me other than my family. And in fact, I started going with Charles. I wasn't going with Charles back home. So there was this new birth of identity that you have to deal with. And I had to start from the scratch to build professional network, because I didn't have any professional network. All my teachers, professors, and clients, although they're all back home, I only practiced for 7 months, but still I had uncles, aunts, friends, colleagues, and a whole network of people. I had to start all over from the beginning to build that in Canada. I also had to overcome the self-doubt. Are you good enough? Are your credentials good enough? Would Canada accept you? Would people understand what you're saying? So a bunch of self-doubt you have to overcome. And you also have to deal with money, right? All of a sudden, nobody's giving you money anymore. Back up, people were giving me money. But here, the moment you come to Canada, you're on your own. And in fact, people from back home are asking you for money the first week that you've landed. So I had to deal with pursuing survival jobs and, taking up the hat of a lawyer and all of that, and humbling myself. I did all kinds of factory work. In 1 year, I had over 10 T4s. I was sleeping sometimes 2 times a week, because I would have 3 shifts all at a go just to make ends meet. So just a bunch of challenges that I know that so many of us can relate to. But these are the things that make us stronger. These are the things that when we are given just the slightest of opportunity, we'll blow it up. because we know what it looks like the other side, and we don't want to go back there. So it's all a blessing in disguise at the end of the day.
Wow, wonderful. Outside of your career, what were some of the initial challenges you had when you first arrived in Canada?
Right. So as I was saying, the self-doubt, building connections, making money, paying your rent, making sure that you take care of yourself and people that are relying on you, and joining mentoring organizations so that you can connect with professionals in your field, people that have been here for a while, people that understand how the industry works, and also making sure that you understand what your licensing journey looks like. I've met with a lot of lawyers that spent a year and a half, if not more, before understanding what they needed to do to get their license. That information gap was not closed as quickly as possible. So those were the general challenges.
What surprised you when you first arrived in Canada?
Well, I think a lot of people can connect to this. Coming here, I didn't do my research, okay? I didn't look at the weather, I didn't look at the politics and all that. All I cared about was my family was here, and that was it, So first of all, I was pleasantly surprised by a few things. I was surprised at how predictable the system was here. They tell you that the bus is coming at 8:40 and the bus is there at 8:40. There's 100% steady light, there is good road, just a bunch of things, basic amenities that support success. So pleasant surprise. On the other hand, too, you realize that the very first thing I noticed was how individualistic people could be here. People focusing on themselves for the most part. The idea of communal mindset or communal living is quite alien to this society. Back home, people could just show up, and you have people at home, you have people show up all the time. You have a very strong sense of community, but here it's not like that. I remember renting an apartment for 2.5 years, and I never met my neighbor for one day. And this is someone that shared the same balcony with me. And I didn't know what the person looked like, whether it's a male or female, for over 2.5 years. All right, so that sense of individualism was quite foreign to me. Before visiting my brother, I will book an appointment. I'll tell him I'll be coming and have to schedule. That was different. Another thing I noticed was mentorship is taken to a different level in this part of the world. Back home, mentorship is almost a given, and it's not even called mentorship. It's called connections, whatever it is. But here you have to proactively reach out to people, to connect to them, ask them for coffee, and ask to meet with them. So you have to be very intentional with expanding your network rather than just sitting back and let your network organically increase. And I also noticed that people tend to say yes more than they tend to say no here when you reach out to them. Right? There is no, the idea of a big man or a small man doesn't really, that concept is very diminished in this part of the world. Whoever it is, as long as you have access to the email or LinkedIn, you can reach out and connect with them, which is something that many of us coming here don't know. You can reach out to people and be proactive in broadening your network.
Great. What is something that newcomers should be aware of as they transition to the Canadian workforce?
It's not going to be easy. Back home, we have this very theoretical and flamboyant idea of coming to the West. And everybody's happy, everybody's smiling, and the sun is shining all the time, right? Then you come here, you realize that things are not as they appear. Yeah, even in the workplace, it's going to be a lot of challenges. It's going to be some cultural disconnect that you're going to suffer from. For instance, you have to learn how to do small talk, right? Back home, if you don't like someone, you don't even talk to them, right? But here, you have to coexist with your coworkers. You have to learn how to do small talk. You also have to be mindful of the prejudice that is out there, which is unfortunate. You have an accent and people assume that you're not as competent as you appear to be. You're trained overseas. There's an assumption that, provided that they don't know your school, they don't know where you went to, where your education was obtained, you might not be as qualified as the people here. So you have all of this prejudice all against you. If someone else, born and raised here, is putting in 100%, you have to put in 200% to be as good, right? You have to prove yourself at every step of the way. So these are the realities that newcomers face here. But the good news is we are naturally equipped to overcome some of these challenges. You can never match the resilience of a newcomer. Is unmatched, right? A newcomer falls 1,000 times and they stand 1,001 times, right? So we have all of whatever it takes to overcome, but it's not going to be easy. Many people come here with good education, some double masters and PhDs, but having access to the door is almost impossible because they don't have anyone vouching for them. They don't have any mentors that are opening doors for them. They would have to face, the reality of surviving in the meantime. Many people come with their young families. They have to go to factories and do survival jobs. So those are the challenges many people face. And in the workplace too, you run into someone that just doesn't like you for the heck of it. When I joined this firm back in 2013, I had an assistant that just didn't like me. I don't know what I did to her. She would gossip right in front of me. I'm right there. She's gossiping about me. So she did everything possible to make me to be uncomfortable. And that really, really bothered me. I would wake up in the morning, my hands are shaking because of my experience at work. And I remember visiting my brother in my first few months of joining the firm. And he knew the challenges I was already facing. And then he was like, you know what? Focus on getting better, focus on learning. If others are putting in 7 hours, put in 15, 10. If others are putting 5 days a week, put in 7 days a week, go above and beyond. As in a matter of time, people will gravitate towards you for resources and for information. That was his advice. And I took it. I went above and beyond. And within 2 years or so in the firm, I became a partner. And shortly after, I bought the firm out because of being intentional about overcoming the challenges I was faced with.
Very inspiring indeed. Some newcomers may be conscious about their accents when speaking English. What is your advice for newcomers who focus on accent as a barrier to their employment?
The prejudice associated with accent is real. So if you're expecting me to say, oh, it's not real, accent doesn't exist, you're not going to hear that from me. The prejudice associated with it is real. I heard about University of British Columbia research that confirmed that people gravitate towards others that sound like them, including employers. That is the reality. Two things in terms of solution. Number one is limit and shrink it. What does that mean? You go for an interview, you know for a fact that the person interviewing you is conscious of your accent. You know for a fact that the person interviewing you is conscious of your skin color or your heritage. They know that. They know those factors. Don't pretend that they don't know. Name it. Tell the person, as you must be aware, I'm an international trained lawyer from Nigeria, and my beautiful accent is from Nigeria. And regardless of how I sound, I've been able to achieve A, B, C, and D. I've been able to achieve A, B, C, and D, right? At that point, that pink elephant in the room has been identified and diminished and shrunk. Nobody focuses on that anymore. The interviewer now focuses on the merits of what you're bringing to the table, right? And then the second solution is just be good at what you do. Just be good at what you do. I cannot say this enough. If you bring value to the table and you help people that come to you overcome what they're faced with, you bring value to your clients, they'll come back again and then again and then again, regardless of what you look like, regardless of what you sound like. People want to be helped. That's just where it is. People gravitate towards people that can help them. And if you can provide that value to them, the services that you need or that they deserve or that they're entitled to, or you give it to them, they'll come back again and again. And this is the story. This is the hallmark of my story. I had every reason on paper not to succeed. But I took over the firm. I was young. I had not owned any business in my life. My first business ever. And all of a sudden, I'm dealing with a firm of, I think at the time I took over the firm, we were about 6 or 7. Right now we're 20, 13 lawyers and the rest. And the rest assistants. And we are finalizing the purchase of another commercial building that is like 5 times bigger than where we are, so that I could hire more people because there's room for growth, there's capacity for growth. In the midst of the pandemic, I hired 8 people. People were laying people off, and I was picking them off off the streets.
Amazing.
Right. And what is the story behind that? Is the story, of course, resilience, but making sure that you're bringing value to the table. It's very easy for people not to bring a lot to the table, and they're blaming racism or the color of their skin as the reason for that. In as much as, of course, racism does exist, it's a hindrance. It's unfortunate we're still talking about it in the 21st century. But there's a lot of other things you can do to neutralize the effect of that. And once you distinguish yourself in the industry, people will gravitate towards you. Right now, we're not looking for work because we're very swamped. I couldn't even count the number of awards we've received in the last 2-3 years. The last time I think it was about 25 of them, just in the last 3 years. And they keep rolling in because I don't focus on what I look like. I don't focus on what I sound like. I focus on being better and making sure that when people come to me, they feel better than they did before they came to me. Yeah.
Great. And on accent, I always I have read about this. I myself am accented, and to be honest with you, as someone who has studied linguistics before, I love accents. It amazes me. Like, it tells me like what kind of language you may speak and all of that. But also, I mean, it brings this this idea that accent means that we have something more, not less.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. And by the way, when you're bringing value to the table, your accent becomes beautiful. It becomes an attraction.
It always is beautiful, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Do you have any advice about professional networking as a newcomer in Canada?
Right. So in this part of the world, it takes a lot of courage, a whole lot of courage for a newcomer to send out that email or that message on LinkedIn to someone that they think is successful, connecting with them and reaching out to them. It takes a lot because from where I come from, it's so hard to have access to successful people unless you know someone that knows someone that knows someone. But here you can skip all of that and directly reach out to whoever you want to connect with. And 8 out of 10 times, they will come back and say, I'm open to conversation, I'm open to lunch, I'm open to coffee, right? So a lot of courage is required. Secondly, when you've gone past connecting, reaching out and the person has responded positively, you want to bring value to that relationship. You do not want the relationship to appear transactional, which is the mistake many people make. Each time I wake up, I go to my LinkedIn, I get maybe 5-10 messages. And sometimes most of these messages about, Charles, give me this, I want this, I want this, I want this, I want this. Right? Many people is a turnoff because you're making this other person feel like the connection is going to be unilateral. The connection is only going to help one person in that relationship. It mustn't be. There's always something that you bring to the table. And for instance, you reach out to someone, you can go to their website and say, hey, Charles, by the way, congratulations on this award, congratulations on this feed. And when I was looking at your website, I noticed there's a typo on the second page of the website. You might want to fix that. And by the way, I would be interested to hear about your story. When can we connect? You send that kind of email. Number one, the person knows that you've done some research and not just reaching out for the heck of it. You've taken some time to understand who this person is. And number two, this person is bringing some value. It mustn't be critical, some value. This person knows that this relationship revolves around synergy and mutuality. And then number three, the person is also interested to know what this other person has done to get to where they have gotten to. People like to talk about themselves. That's just a natural phenomenon, right? And once you do that, also make sure that you maintain the relationship. It's not going to be a hit and run. You reach out, you connect, and then that's it. There's a difference between networking and connecting. Networking is you're sending out these emails and they reply, and then cricket, nothing happens afterwards. You have to continue the relationship. You need to be deliberate and make sure that each time you connect, there's always something they're walking away from. These are the ways that you can get ahead. And I didn't mention, be proactive in terms of the kind of organizations that you're connecting with as well. I joined an organization called CRIAC. It caters to internationally trained professionals. Again, I knew for a fact that this organization knows the kind of struggle that I was going through, and they understand the plight of internationally trained lawyers and what resources are available for them. So organizations like that are very, very helpful. The actual mentoring organizations, you can have that on the side alongside your individual networking activities. Yeah.
Great advice. You have received a lot of recognition and awards. What do you attribute your success to?
Well, it's just a lot of things. A lot of factors. Of course, grace is there, and having good people around. You need to have these very strong tribe of supporters. I'm going to pose this question to my audience. If an opportunity arises today, and that opportunity requires 3 solid reference letters, how quickly can you get those letters? Can you get those letters in 1 week, in 3 days, in 1 month, or not at all? If you're able to answer that question in the positive, that means you're doing something right. If you're going to struggle with that question, that means you need to work harder in having a tribe of supporters around you. And these tribe of supporters mustn't be people that look like you. It could be people from across races. Are you volunteering? Are you reaching out to mentoring organizations? Do you have mentors? And do they know that you're mentors? Or is it just a one-sided relationship? So you need to have people that can vouch for you in your absence. And these people must have legitimacy. They must have good reputation in their respective industries. And reputation can come from the number of years they've been in the industry, or their achievements, their accomplishments, or what they're bringing, whatever they're doing for the community. So CRIAC, I think somebody's asking for the name of the organization. It's called CRIAC, Calgary Region Immigrant Employment Council. Yeah, CRIAC. Dennis, you can put that on the chat later on. So you need to have a strong tribe of supporters, people that can vouch for you. It's okay to have someone from back home, but even better for someone from here. And how do you build that connection, that relationship? Through volunteering. When you volunteer a month or two, you're able to get a letter from the executive director of the organization or your immediate supervisor or manager. You can also get that from your mentoring organization. You can also get that from reaching out to people on LinkedIn and building a relationship with them. These are the people that open doors for you. And these are the people that have opened doors to these awards for me. Trust me, these awards, I didn't nominate myself. Somebody nominated me and somebody vouched for me. And because of that, I'm getting these recognitions. And
I'm
of
sure
course,
you're.
yeah.
Sorry to cut you. Go on.
And of course, you have to deliver. They cannot be vouching for you and you're messing around, right?
Yes,
you have to make sure that you're delivering in, you say you're going to do something, you do it. Integrity is important. Work ethics is important. Nobody wants to associate themselves with anyone that is going to tarnish their reputation. So,
yes, very true. I'm sure your mentors are very proud.
Thank you.
If they're listening or seeing us now, even better. What advice would you give to newcomers in Canada?
Be kind to yourself. When I came here, I wasn't that kind. Lots of self-doubt, confidence issues, and I wasn't sure what the future held for me. And I was so fearful of how my decision to come here would turn out. Because remember, many people are coming here after they had either finished schooling or done some work or gathering some form of reputation. And they have to do that all over again here. So self-doubt comes in, trepidation comes in. So when you come here, know that this society, to a very large extent, rewards hard work. For the most part, what you put in is what you get. There are no shortcuts. There are no shortcuts, rather. You have to put in the time. You have to, be associating yourself with people that have succeeded, because your association is going to determine how far you go. When you come here, so many people would project their failures on you, people that weren't very lucky, either because of what they did or what happened to them. They will project all of these failures to you. I couldn't tell you how many times people told me that being a lawyer here wouldn't be possible. I remember someone even said that no judge will understand what I was saying. I don't know why he said that. So many people are projecting their failures on you. Be mindful, be very, very critical of your association, especially in the first 2 years. Associate yourself with people that can inspire you, people that have taken bold moves and succeeded. And, when you face challenges, you run to them, they will tell you that these challenges are nothing. That was how I've been able to get to where I am, because my mentors saw in me what I didn't see in myself. When the opportunity to buy the firm came about, I ran away from it. I didn't want it. I didn't want to make that move. I thought it was going to be a disaster. But people that love me, people that care about me more than I care about myself, they're telling me, Charles, we'll support you. If anything goes badly, you can do this. And it's also important to have one or two people that support you more than you support yourself, that believe in you more than you believe in yourself. And I had that in the person of my oldest brother, my mentor, Mr. Randall, even my former partner, Mr. Smith. Mr. Smith was more or less begging me to take over his practice and buy him out, because he believed in me more than I believed in myself. And back in 2016, he said, Charles, within a short period of time, you're going to be one of the best lawyers in Canada. I thought he was out of his mind. In my mind, I was like, maybe he'll just telling me things I needed to hear. And then all of a sudden, I'm getting all these recognitions. And all of what he said became to manifest. So you need to have someone, more than one person is preferable, that believe in you more than you believe in yourself. It's very, very critical, because the first few years would take a mental toll on you. You're always questioning your decision to leave your comfort zone. You're always questioning whether this is the right path, whether this is the right decision that you made. And you have all these people supporting you and encouraging you. That is super important.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing, Charles.
You're very welcome.
That was such a fantastic conversation, Charles. I do want to echo what Venus said. Thank you for sharing a lot of very motivational and inspirational tidbits of advice. I hope the listeners also enjoyed and also got some benefit out of hearing this conversation. Charles, I'm going to ask you, you can take a break now, turn off your camera, and we'll ask you to come back on later for the Q&A. But
Okay.
for now, Venus is going to talk about the Career Loans Program and how we support newcomers in Alberta and Saskatchewan. And also afterwards, like I said, we will have the Q&A session. So please type in your questions in the Q&A feature, the Q&A box or the chat box. So I've seen we already have a question or two. So so we'd like to hear from our audience today about if they have any questions about career loans or Charles. We'd be happy to hear from you. So Venus, if you will, please take it away.
Sure. I'm gonna just share my screen. You see my screen now?
Yep.
Okay, great. All right, thanks, Gavin. I will be talking about Career Loans Program. It is funded by Government of Canada. It is a program under Achēv, the bigger organization that we work with. And our financial institution partner is HSBC Bank. About career loans, it's a fully virtual service for internationally trained individuals in Alberta and Saskatchewan. We provide free career support services and assistance with the microloan application, and also guidance to if you are looking into getting back to your career, or if you're considering an alternative career. In both cases, we can support you. Program features is free career and financial counseling, a low interest microloan up to $15,000, referral to employment services, guide to accreditation process, and advice for alternative careers. Who is eligible for career loans? Internationally trained individuals in regulated or non-regulated occupations and trades, residents of Alberta or Saskatchewan who are permanent residents, Canadian citizens, or convention refugees with a minimum Canadian language benchmark of level 5. For some benefits, if you become member, of course, you are supported by our counselors, both career counseling and access to the microloan should you need it. These are provided in a one-on-one session. As I said, it's virtual. It's often by phone or video conferencing. We discuss your career path, your options, the research you have done so far, what you have found out, and what are your goals and how best we can support you in achieving your goals. And then we create a personalized action plan, and that gets emailed to you, and all of these is virtual. You also have access to live webinars catered towards newcomers, expert guest speakers like today on relevant topics, and access to our previous webinars, as well as an event calendar on your province. So this is an infographic that explains our process once you locate your dream job and you basically are aware of the requirements, you wanted to register for a program, we get your contact info, we get back to you, and then we book that session for you to go through, basically to get to know you and see how best we can support your goals. Now, at this point, if you require access to a microloan, we can move to the next step, which is working with you to prepare a file for you for submission to our financial partner. However, accessing the loan is totally optional. It is not, you're not obligated to take out the loan if you go through the career counseling. It is just there if you need to access it. How we can help by the one-on-one virtual counseling session, referral to our local service providers in various, I would say, in various aspects of your settlement and employment and career pursuits, and also access to a microloan if you need it. Some talk about the features of the loan. So it's provided by our partner, HSBC Bank. It is up to $15,000. The minimum is $1,500. The interest rate is HSBC Prime plus 2%. Right now it is sitting at 4.45%. The repayment amount, the repayment period of the loan can be up to 4 years. What can be claimed against the loan? It can be credential assessment, accreditation, training, any bridge program, material fees such as books and learning equipments, as well as if you need to pay for the exams, licensure, membership to your professional associations and unions. All of that are expenses that can be claimed against the loan. If you're not sure what you have in mind or what you find out about your career expenses is actually eligible under this program, you can always reach me. We can always have a conversation about it. So the program is completely free and virtual, and as I said, provided by phone or by video conferencing. And here is the contact information for both provinces. I can also leave my email in the chat box for anybody who wanted to reach me directly. I'll be happy to help you. Gavin, back to you.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Venus. So if you do have any questions about the Career Loans Program, do get in touch with us or ask them now in the chat. With that being said, it's now time for the Q&A, and thank you so much. I've seen some comments, some questions, all very glad to hear from you. So I'm going to invite everyone, Venus and Charles, to come back on screen, and we will tackle some of these questions. In no particular order. So can we have this presentation? Yes, I will be. We are recording this presentation. It will be sent out. So don't worry. If you've registered for this webinar, you will get an email with the recording and our survey so that you can let us know what you think. A few comments, not necessarily questions, but a few comments for Charles. And a lot of people are very inspired from what they heard today. One comment said, Charles, your insights today are very true. I myself, as a newcomer to Calgary, just over a year, faced much of what you were saying. Keep a positive attitude and it will pay off soon. Thank you. So a lot of people in the audience are very touched. Another comment I'd like to share. This is the best conversation so far I've heard from any successful newcomer. Thank you for your candid and down to the ground feelings and informative advice for mindset, life, and career here. I have no doubt you deserve all these great recognitions as you are a very strong and honest person. Charles, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
These are amazing comments, and likewise, Venus and I, we also want to echo those thoughts. This is such a wonderful conversation. Let's jump into some questions. So Charles, this question is for you. I would like to know, what is the work-life balance for a newcomer in your line of work?
I chuckle whenever I get that question. Seeking work-life balance in the first year, 2 or 3 years of a career It's like borrowing money to buy a house and expecting to pay it back in a year or two, right? It's something that you work on, and it's an objective that happens over time. It doesn't happen overnight. We are all pursuing work-life balance, but don't expect that to happen overnight, especially if you're building a foundation for a very robust and successful career. Sacrifices should be made. Sacrifices must be made. For instance, my first 2-3 years, oh my goodness, I was doing 7 days a week. I was laying a foundation for everything that is happening right now. I volunteered with so many organizations. I was part of different communities. I was putting in my time. I was branding myself. Now the returns are coming in. The first 3-4 years was for me farming season, right? In those years, I didn't expect to have work-life balance. You cannot eat your cake and have it, right? You cannot expect to build, and at the same time you're reaping. You have to wait. Even farmers, when they farm, this wait a year or so to start reaping. So work-life balance is a good thing to have, but don't expect to have that right away. It's going to unnecessarily interfere with your hustle. Give yourself some time to put in the hustle, and then over time you begin to reap. When I started with the firm, I had just 2 lawyers, I believe, when I took over the firm. And then in 3-4 years, I've hired 10 or so more lawyers who are now doing the work that I used to do 3-4 years ago, right? Now I'm overseeing what they're doing. I'm able to go home at 6. I'm able to say, you know what, I'm taking the weekend off because I have people that are not taking advantage of the foundation that I built for this year. And to me, the work-life balance hasn't even kicked in because there's so much more work to do. But all I've learned to do is learn how to dance in the rain in the meantime. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Fantastic answer. Charles, did you need to do any retraining or upgrading once you were in Canada? And if you did you find this training to advance your career faster?
Very good question. For lawyers that are trained abroad, you go through what they call the NCA process. So you submit your law school transcript, your credentials, and then they will assess your credentials to determine how many courses you have to write. The minimum I heard is about 5 or 6. You write those courses, they are self-study for the most part. If you succeed, then you article internship for a year. And during the internship, you challenge the bar exams depending on where you are. So this process took me about 2 years, which is relatively fast to overcome because the article itself is 1 year. And then for the first set of exams, I had to hustle back to back to save some money. I didn't know you guys then. I didn't know career loans. You could have made things easier for me. Just borrow some loan. I don't have to work, all night and all day long. But I had to do that for 8 months, save some money, then stayed home, challenged the first set of exams, articled, became a lawyer in 2014. So there is a process for that. And of course, it's helpful. Many people complain about these exams, but at the end of the day, they are blessings in disguise. They help you understand how to adapt in the community, how to become a better professional. It's one thing to know the law. It's another thing to apply the law to your specific circumstance. How do you deliver legal knowledge or legal advice to your client? These are the things you will never learn from abroad. You have to learn them here. So and I found the exams very easy. Coming from Nigeria, where things are so so tough in terms of the exam, the bar is so high in Nigeria, and I'm very, very grateful for that kind of training that we received back home. So coming here, it was an very easy transition in terms of passing those exams.
Mm-hmm. Great insight. Thank you. Charles, how important is it to be willing to adapt if you want to succeed as a newcomer?
Very important, super, super important, right? They say when you go to Rome, you behave like Romans. That statement remains very trite and applicable today. There's so many cultural nuances that one has to be aware of. Education is not what happens in the four corners of the university or high school. Education is being aware of cultural expectations, right, in the workplace. So those adaptations are very, very necessary. So long as you are not crossing your ethical value system, right, provided that you're not subjected to, all of a sudden you're no longer a religious person because people around you are not religious. As long as you're not compromising your core values, it's important to adapt because this place is different. Cultural expectations are different. The way people talk, the way people do things. Back home, there are some conversations you can have in the lunchroom, and everybody will laugh with you, and it's funny. You're talking about sexual orientation, you're talking about gender issues, you're talking about some of these social issues. Some places in the world, people would you have 100% support in your position, but here you dare not talk about those issues or even nurse those mindset because things are done differently. There's different expectations here. So you have to be very, very conscious of it. And the first few years, listen more than you talk. Listen to how people talk, the way they communicate, and get to know these nuances and adapt as much as you can without compromising your core values.
Very great answer. We have time for a few more questions. I don't want to go way too past over the hour, and I'm thinking about Charles's time as well. But I think if we're okay, we have time for a few more questions.
Sure.
So this one is for Charles, and then after I see a few questions for Venus, but we'll go with this one for Charles first. What does it mean to work hard in Canada? Charles, thank you for all the insights and advice.
Good question. Working hard for me has had different meanings over time. When I was a student, when I was doing my article, my internship, working hard was putting in 14 hours every day. But now, as the owner of the firm, working hard is finding someone smarter than me, hiring the person, and making sure that they're paid well and they're happy, and giving them work to do and overseeing their work. So at every stage of your journey, working hard would have a different connotation. At the very early stage, it's all about numbers of hours. You're paid an hourly rate. It's how many hours do you put in? Then over time, you realize that you could do more than just put in hours. You can optimize your product or your output by either associating yourself with smaller people. It all depends on where you are. It depends on the stage you are in your journey. It depends on the industry you are. In this part of the world, experience is very important and certification is very important. So even if you don't have any experience, because you've not been hired, you could volunteer, and that becomes experience on your resume. Maybe a certification of a 3-month certification program might lead to a promotion, while without it, you don't get a promotion. So how do you optimize your position at every step of the way? It really depends on where you are in your journey.
Yeah,
but it doesn't necessarily mean putting in more time, not necessarily.
Great. I think I see 2 questions for Venus and 1 more for Charles, and then we'll try to cap it off there. Of course, I'll give everyone's contact information after. So if you did have more questions, you can reach out. Venus, so can you just quickly talk about how is the loan repayment calculated?
So the loan repayment basically depends on how much you take out. So some individuals may need the full $15,000, some may need less. You can access it one time or multiple of small loans, provided that it doesn't go over the $15,000. So how is it calculated depends on how much you take out. And that's done by our financial advisors at the bank. But I would say roughly, if you go for the full amount, which is $15,000, it's going to be roughly an estimate. It's not exact. It's going to be around $350. The repayment period is basically if you go for a full amount, then it's up to 4 years. If you go for less, it's going to be shorter. So that is how it is. But then the exact amount is going to be calculated by the bank. And once you meet the financial advisor, you can discuss it.
Yes, it's case by case. One more question for Venus. So can you please clarify at what point an applicants will have access to program highlights such as career advice, financial counseling? Is it before or after accessing the loans during the repayment period? So when can career loans clients access our services essentially?
Sure. As soon as you register, or even connecting with me with email or a phone number, we can discuss everything in full. So I get to hear from you about your education experiences and the research and basically where you're at your career journey and planning. I get to know you and to hear about you. And then I get to basically the chance to explain to you how this program works and how best we can support you. So the information is given to you all before you make that decision.
And I think this will be the last one for today. It's directed towards Charles. It's a comment and a question. Charles, thank you for doing this. A friend showed me a video of you discussing your journey in Canada, and I was inspired. I did not want to pursue the Canadian bar as I had already obtained a CHRP designation. But after that video, I started considering it. Plus, with my current job registering charitable organizations, it just made sense. So thank you for doing you. Their question is, I have young kids and I plan to complete accreditation process in 3 years. I've heard it is standard for all lawyers to work long hours. Can you speak to this, please?
Well, good luck with, by the way, thank you for the kind feedback. I appreciate it. Good luck with the accreditation process. It's so difficult doing that with young kids, right? Because it's self-study, unless you want to spend $30,000-$40,000 at U of C or U of A or whatever, or U of T, I believe, for a formalized or structured training. But the good news is you do have some leeway to finish those exams. Some have 3 years, some have 4 years, I believe. With determination, a lot can be achieved. I had dinner with a woman that challenged 10 exams in 1 year, and she has 2 kids. You know, she finished everything. Now she's been called to the bar and she's looking for work. So you can do it. You can do it. Make sure that you find yourself in the right community. There's a bunch of communities out there for NCA students, Facebook, WhatsApp, and Gavin or Venus could share my email with everyone. Reach out to me. I know so many of these communities I can connect you to. And in terms of working long hours, it is not standard. It is not standard. It's just a case by case basis. In smaller firms, so in bigger firms, of course, long hours are quite the commonplace. Smaller firms, you're likely going to have a work-life, whatever that is, balance in terms of catering to your kids and also ensuring that your professional life does not suffer. But there's no formula. To be very honest with you, there is no formula to these things. There's no formula to success. There's no formula to being a successful lawyer. It mustn't work in a big firm to being a successful lawyer. It mustn't work in a small firm to being a successful lawyer. The question is what works best for you in any given situation. Regardless of your particular situation, my advice is get the license. It opens doors. Even if you don't practice as a lawyer, it opens doors for you. I see that you have HR designation. I guess that's what that means. With your license as a lawyer here, the sky is your limit. You can set up your own practice. You can be an employment lawyer. You can be in-house. You can be VP legal in a big corporation. There's just so much you can do. And the law profession gives you a lot of options that work best for you given your circumstance. For instance, you can go in-house where you don't have to put in crazy hours. You can work for a corporation. You can work as a company secretary. You can set up your own practice and control and determine your own hours. But you need to have a license to be able to have these infinite options, or list of options.
Gavin, we can hear you.
Oh, sorry about that, my mic. Thank you very much, Charles, for that incredible insights. We are past the hour, so thank you, Charles, for sticking around a bit, and everyone else who has been watching. Stick on video. I'm going to share my screen real quick just to conclude the presentation, but I'm going to ask Charles and Venus just to stay on the video for a second, and then we can say our final farewells. So before we end off, we do have a Facebook Live coming up on Friday. Venus will be talking about should newcomers volunteer and what are the benefits of volunteering as a newcomer. You can follow us on Facebook to get up to date and to get notified when we go live. That's this Friday at 11:30 Alberta time. Our next full-length feature webinar is in the new year, January 19th, 2022, goal setting for your career in Canada. And we will be talking about how to set SMART goals and how to make these goals work for your career. Lastly, I will be sending you an email that includes this video recording and a survey. We would very much appreciate if you fill out the survey. And here is the last slide with all our information. If you want to get in touch with Career Loans in Saskatchewan, we have 1-800 number. Alberta, we also have a separate 1-800 number, and that's going to be for Venus. That's to get in contact with Venus. Charles's information, info@osujismith.ca, and the website is osujismith.ca. So definitely reach out if you have any more questions. I want to thank the audience again for being so active and being so engaging for this wonderful presentation. Charles, of course, for your time. It's been very insightful. So thank you again and enjoy the rest of the day, everyone. We'll talk soon.
Thank you for what you guys do for newcomers. Amazing stuff. Thank you.
Thank you, Charles.
You're welcome.
Everyone.
Bye.